benedicta tu, en mulieribus. Sancta Maria.
It's the Pesto Pod, the Pesto Pod, the Pesto Pod.
That's the shit I had to learn in my Catholic school. I had to learn Latin. Dona nobis pacem. Agnus Dei qui tollis peccata mundi miserere nobis. Can you fucking believe that? Anyway, I had a crazy week. Last week, let me think. I went to the premiere of The Amateur, which is a movie starring Rami Malek and I don't know how you say her last name. I always want to say Bro Shannon, but I know that's not what it is. Rachel Brosnahan from Maisel. And it was good. I'm not like a big action movie person. The premiere was so cool though because I got to walk the carpet. I rented a dress from Rent the Runway. And it fit really well on my fupa. So, you know, life is good. God is real. And walking the red carpet casually behind me was Brooke motherfucking Shields. Brooke Shields, most beautiful woman on earth. By the way, maybe like 5'11" in flats. Just so tall. Beautiful. Wearing the cutest little black and white little outfit. And I just was like starstruck. Not only is that Miley Stewart's dead mom, obvi, but I've like seen Blue Lagoon and like Pretty Baby and all those controversial as fuck movies that made her who she is, and real ones from the 2000s. Remember that she used to be the spokeswoman for Oral-B toothpaste. I know Brooke Shields because she's got beautiful teeth. So that was so cool. And then if you saw my TikTok, you know the story. But after the premiere, there was an after party. So I went with my friend Gia, by the way. Gia and I are like schmoozing. We're chatting with other people that are like, I always am chatting with the production crew because I just know that they are more my ilk. And there were like past hors d'oeuvres and delicious little beveraginos, and we were having a glorious time. I had a little kebab with short rib on it. Ooh, mama. Wonderful. And as we're leaving, I pass a waiter with a plate of Cajun shrimp. And I said, "Don't mind if I do, sir." And I took one. And then a group of us got into the elevator. I think there were like 4 of us total. So it was like me, Gia, and then this couple. And I take a bite of this Cajun shrimp, and it's just delicious. It's a flavor extravaganza bursting on my taste buds. And so I go, "This shrimp is delicious," in the elevator. You know who the couple was in the elevator with us? Famed astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson and his partner, I'm presuming. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I went, "This shrimp is delicious," to Neil deGrasse Tyson. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was like, "Isn't it?" And he was like, "It's great shrimp. It's very moist." And I was like, it's delectable. And then I was like, "You have a good one." He's like, "You have a good one too." And then we walked out, and I heard like another guy waiting at the elevator. He was like, "Mr. Tyson, I'm a huge fan of your work." And I was like, that was Neil motherfucking deGrasse Tyson, a man who has, you know, second maybe only to Bill Nye, reinvented science for all of us. So that was crazy. Other than that, though, I had a pretty low-key week. All good things. Sometimes low-key weeks are good. Sometimes I like to rot. But I don't think I rot. Every day I got up and I went out and did stuff. But it was just like a good slow living kind of week. Did get my nails done at this place called Majesty's Pleasure in Flatiron. It's really nice. It's like they give you coffee, and you can even get like little cocktails like mimosas and stuff while you get your nails done. And my nail tech, I think her name was Andrea. Look at this beautiful set of a red builder gel. Love. I feel like other than that, like I tried to go to bed early. I don't know. I was so boring. I went to an event for Olaplex, which is good because I love Olaplex. That's what keeps my hair so shiny and luscious. And I don't know. I didn't do much. Yesterday, there was a street market happening in the Upper West that I walked through and had some delicious shrimp. Once again, I've been on a shrimp kick. This is shrimp week, I suppose. And I'm not mad about it. But here's what I really want to talk about. Last video, I talked about art a little bit, and I mentioned the Da Vinci Code because my whole life I've always thought that I assumed the Da Vinci Code was about the 1911 theft of the Mona Lisa. It's not. Not only that, it is about one of the craziest conspiracy theories to ever hit the Catholic Church. I went to Catholic school. You probably know this. I'm very vocal about it. Went to Catholic school my whole life, kindergarten through college. Actually, I went to a Jesuit college. I'm not religious. Neither is my family. It was more just like, I don't know. We had like family and friends that their kids attended this school. And so it was like, just, that's where my community was. And that's where I went. But I didn't hate it. I hated elementary school and middle school. That was stupid. But my Catholic high school, I liked. It was like small, all girls. I liked just putting a uniform on and like not worrying about what I looked like. And I don't know, I had a good group of friends. So it wasn't the worst. But yeah, it sucks that like once a month we had to sit through mass because I don't go to church and I don't really believe in it. So that was like so annoying. But I did pull a ladybird and ate the unblessed Eucharist out of the jar when I was at play practice because it's essentially just like a non-salted Ritz cracker. And sometimes it hits. I'll say it. If they sold them in like little packages like Girl Scout cookies, I'd probably buy them and eat them with some Boursin garlic and herb cheese. They could call them Holy O's. Anyway, so I watched the Da Vinci Code. I'm going to do some serious spoilers. The movie itself I found very confusing and hard to follow because they were doing a lot of talking and I was like, what's going on? So I did a lot of pausing and then Googling the plot of the movie I was currently watching. But now in hindsight, I think it's a very cool concept. It was just a little hard to follow. But I'm going to tell you about it. So buckle in if you care at all about the conspiracy theories of the Catholic Church. And this is mad spoilers for the movie. Basically, the Da Vinci Code starts with a murder at the Louvre. There's a murder at the Louvre, and the guy, as he's dying, carves these symbols into his body. They get my boy Tom Hanks, who is a professor of symbology or something, to come and look at these symbols. But it ends up that they're actually considering Tom Hanks a prime suspect in the case. He didn't do it though, I swear. But he teams up with this other like symbol historian girly pop named Sophie, and she happens to be the granddaughter of the guy who was murdered. So they're teaming up. They're like, what's going on? Like, why is the police are after us? Like, this sucks. They're like running from the cops. They're like on the lam. And they discover that the dude who was murdered, Sophie's grandfather, was a member of this secret society called the Priory of Sion. This sounds like I'm like talking about Game of Thrones or something, but it's real fucking life. The Priory of Sion is this secret cult society of like knights that are sworn to protect the Holy Grail. We know the Holy Grail. Y'all ever seen Monty Python? Sure. So they are sworn to protect the Holy Grail. And then Tom Hanks and Sophie are like, fuck it, let's go find the Holy Grail. Because we have like your grandpa's like codes and shit. So they go on this journey. They're in hot pursuit by the French police who think that they killed this guy, and by the Vatican ? And they're like, why is the Vatican chasing us? The Vatican is using this weird looking little monk man to do their dirty work, do all the murders. They're behind the murder, by the way. And he's like a strange little urchin, sleep paralysis demon man that is also in pursuit of Tom Hanks. This has nothing to do with any. I'm getting confused. Basically, Tom Hanks and Sophie, they're on a little journey. They run into another one of Tom Hanks' little professor friends, and he explains to them that the Holy Grail, as we know it, is not a cup at all. I was always taught, this is real, I was taught in Catholic school that Mary Magdalene is a prostitute that hung out with Jesus, washed his feet, kikied, she was girly pop. This professor suggests that the Holy Grail is actually Mary Magdalene because she was not just a prostitute that it says in the Bible. She was Jesus's wife. And when Jesus was crucified, she was pregnant. And she fled to France to have the baby and gave birth to a girl. And the church decided to cover this up because at this point, women are really not like a big slay. At this point in history, they're like, oh, we don't want like the Messiah's descendant to be a woman because they are male patriarchal pigs. So they are like, let's cover this up. And over the next like millions and thousands and bajillions of years, there's like all these councils and shit and whatever. The Vatican has conspired. Let's not make it known that Jesus has living descendants. Let's cover all of this up so that Jesus seems more divine and like very much not human. And let's say that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. The Priory of Sion, their goal is to protect the Holy Grail. Thus, their goal is to protect the line of Jesus's descendants. Crazy theory, right? Like, that's so smart. Whoever came up with that. I know it was a book. The Da Vinci Code was a book. And I don't think that the guy who wrote the book came up with that. I think it's like an existing conspiracy theory and it has been disproved. But how smart and like how creepy that like could it be possible? But the whole point of the movie is that there are a lot of famous like people in the last thousands of years that are part of the Priory of Sion, such as, they claim, Leonardo da Vinci. And he gave a lot of hints to Mary Magdalene being Jesus's wife and them having a child in his paintings, the Last Supper and all that nonsense. So now Tom Hanks and Sophie know that they are in pursuit not of a cup but of Mary Magdalene's body, because the Priory of Sion know where it is, and they know that if it were ever to be discovered, it could be like DNA tested and they could find out that Jesus had children. Why they're like popping their pussy to make sure this doesn't get discovered, unsure. I think that is cool. And if I found that out, I'd be like, no way. And then I'd go on with my day-to-day life. But the Vatican, these people, they're little cardinals in their little robes. This is like all they think about. So basically like there's a whole like shebang of things that happen. There's like a lot of like puzzles and consulting with various people and lots of treacherous traitory, whatever. It ends up, this is the big plot twist, bada bing, bada boom, lock in. They discover the Priory of Sion has like these secret documents that they discover. And in the documents, Tom Hanks sees like they're tracing the lineage of Jesus, and Jesus's last living descendant is Sophie, this little girly pop that he's with. And it's because, she was this guy's grandfather. She wasn't actually his grandfather. He like took guardianship of her and was protecting her because he knew that she was Jesus's last descendant and whatever. So they're like, oh my God, like LOL, Jesus's great granddaughter's alive. Like what do we do about this? There's no way they can prove it because they can't find Mary Magdalene's body. The Priory of Sion has that like locked under wraps. The police end up realizing that they didn't kill the guy, so they're cool. The Vatican is like cray. The movie ends with Tom Hanks having this like come to Jesus moment, no pun intended, where he realizes that he like solved one of the puzzles wrong. And the answer is that Mary Magdalene's body is buried right back where this whole thing started, under the Louvre. Whoa. Kind of cool. Like a cool concept. I don't know. I'm not very religious, but I find religious history very interesting, especially because it was shoved down my throat for like fucking 18 years. So a cool concept. And there's something about, listen, I really learned this when I went to Europe. The Catholics and the Christians, they're grouped together, but they're so different. The Christians are what you think of when you see like deep South, Bible thumping, God fearing, mega church, Duggar, fucking, what's her name? Tammy Faye? Whatever. Those are the Christians. The Catholics are like the Vatican holy orders. Don't look at the bow beneath your creator and be scared, and fire and hell and brimstone and death. They're like really intense. Which makes sense when you go to like a Christian church, go to like a Christian mega church. Sometimes it's just like a fucking stadium, but you go to like a Christian, like whatever, Pentecostal church, and it's like this like big wooden room, no decor, no stained glass. It's very plain. There's just pews and the preacher, and they're just like, Jesus is your friend, love thy neighbor, cultivate your relationship with the Lord. If the Lord can lead you to it, it can lead you through it. That's like their whole thing. The Catholics, you go to a Catholic church, it's these big stone walls and cathedrals, and there's stained glass, and there's dead bodies, there's like catacombs underneath, and they're like, we are nothing, we build this altar for you because you are so great, and we are nothing but little urchins beneath your feet, and we are your loyal servants, and we will devote our lives to you. And then there's like fucking sacraments, bing, bop, bom, boom, you gotta do all these fucking tests to get, and let's drink this blood. Like, they're insane. Neither one of them I personally relate to, because once again, I'm not religious, like, at all. I did really love, like, when I was in Catholic school, there's always a big emphasis on service, like helping the less fortunate. And I like that. That doesn't really require a religion to be on board with that. That's just being a good person. And I know being a good person is based on religion, like morals, but that's a religion I can get behind. Just like be cool, be good, be nice. I like that. I don't need to like go to fucking mass and recite the shit in Latin. Don't know why I had to do that. Don't know why I learned the Hail Mary before I learned how to write. But I digress. And it was cool to like, when I went to Europe on my big Europe trip, it was cool to like have that religious history knowledge to see all these churches, especially when I went to the Vatican. The Vatican's kind of badass because, first of all, the Vatican's a government. It's not just like some priests. These people, it's a human government, which means big bada boom, it's inherently corrupt because they're all basically white men that are cray cray, and there are secrets at the Vatican. And of course, after watching the Da Vinci Code, I got into like a Wikipedia deep dive of Vatican conspiracy theories because there's so many. I love. And I went to well, first of all, this is kind of silly. So Catholic Church thing is that I guess apparently every Catholic church has a relic, meaning, you know how like a Catholic church has a saint? Like I belong to St. Rita's Catholic Church. Okay, the church has an object belonging to St. Rita. They have a relic of that saint. That's like rule. I don't know. The church I went to as a kid, St. Rita, they had St. Rita's finger. Where'd you get that? Where'd we get a human finger? Also, just because like you're showing me a box and being like, this box contains St. Rita's finger, I don't believe you. Like, I don't believe you. Whip it out. Get me a fucking microscope and like prove it. I don't believe you. Maybe that's like very much shows that I'm not a religious person because I don't believe things unless there's evidence. But yeah, so they're really into their dead bodies. That's one thing. When I went to Europe, I was like, hey, here's the arm of Saint Stephen. The arm? Where's the rest of him? And when I was in Italy, I went to the catacombs of the Capuchins, which is like a type of monk. I always thought Capuchin was a type of monkey, specifically the monkey that played Marcel in Friends. But what the fuck do I know? It was also an order of monks, and they have these catacombs, whatever, and they claim to have like the shoulder blade of Jesus. Prove it. Let's get a DNA. Let's get a swab. Can we get a mouth swab? Oh, Jesus resurrected and we don't have his body or any evidence that he exists. Like, that's tough. I don't know. They also had the skull of St. Francis. Once again, prove it. Prove to me this is a real human skull. This could be plastic and you could be pulling a fast one on all of us. You know? Crazy. And I remember walking through the Capuchin catacombs and there was a kid. Not like a kid on my tour, like a 4-year-old. I was like, what you doing bringing your 4-year-old to the mass grave that we're in right now? He's going to be like, what is going on? So I guess like take that lesson. Don't bring your kid to a catacomb. I thought that didn't need to be said out loud, but what the fuck do I know? Yeah, a lot of dead bodies. And then I went to the Vatican, and there's hella dead bodies, and they're on display. We got a Pope John Paul number 10,042, and he's laying there, and his whole thing is this is his body, and it hasn't decomposed at all because he's so holy, and he's a saint now. I hate to break it to you guys, that's not him then. Like, the science doesn't lie. Or maybe he's in like an airtight thing, and you open that and you're gonna be like, stinky, because he's gonna decompose. Like, he's not decomposing. Like, I don't want to be a buzzkill or like a Debbie Downer. I feel like some kid who just told like the other kids on the bus that Santa's not real. That's not what I want here. I'm just saying, I look at all of this from a very like practical point of view. And so like, yeah, a Catholic church is beautiful. They're beautiful architectural like masterpieces. These cathedrals that I went to are gorgeous. And oh, here's like a really, really, really old dead body. Man, that's really cool from a historical standpoint. I'm very into the history of all of it. I don't really see much religion. Like, I'm not into the belief. I guess I don't have faith. That's kind of sad. What's going on? This is crazy deep that I'm talking about. Whatever. I gathered some Vatican conspiracy theories. Although, wait, let me really quick say also, when I went to St. Peter's Basilica and saw that dead Pope, they have catacombs underneath St. Peter's Basilica. They're not catacombs. I'm sorry. They have like a mass tomb. All the dead popes are buried underneath St. Peter's. They're in like enclosed like sarcophagi, I guess. But it's cool. You get to like walk through, and they have effigies. Is that the word? When it's like like a death cast. This is crazy. Of someone laying there, but it's not really them, but they're in there. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was cool. And then also under St. Peter's Basilica, they have this holy site. It's like all mosaic tiles and stuff. And there's like a plaque, and it says like, this is the spot at this spot is where St. Peter, who, by the way, an apostle of Jesus, we're talking the year 0. St. Peter supposedly was like, build my church here. And then he ascended into the heavens, and they have a spot marked like, this is where that happened. How do we know? How do we know this is where it happened? I don't believe you. I didn't see it, and therefore I don't believe it. So, yeah. But it was really cool. They had Constantine in there, I think. Like the Constantinople. I was like, that's baller. You know? I wonder where Julius Caesar is. Is he anywhere? What did they do with him? Hey, Google. Where is Julius Caesar a saint? Julius Caesar's body. Cremated. Okay. How convenient. After Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BC, his body was cremated. Wait, 44 BC? He's before Jesus? Wait, hold on. Now my whole world's upside down. Wait, yeah, this makes sense because Jesus is in the Roman Empire. The Romans are after him. The Romans crucify him. It's like I never went to school. They cremated him. The site of his cremation in the southeast quadrant of the Roman Forum. Okay, so they have. I was there then. I saw that fucker. But again, like, how do we know? They could have said this is the ashes of Julius Caesar, and it was like a box of like fucking mothballs, you know. Okay, conspiracy theories about the Vatican though. Here's what's crazy. Nazis. The Vatican gave hella money to the Nazis, and they had a lot of correspondence with Hitler, and a lot of that was attempted to be covered up, but it was exposed, and no one seems to care. Crazy. I will say though that the current papacy is kind of slay. Like Pope Francis, I'm into Frankie, you know, like he's like likes the gays a little bit, and he's doesn't like Trump, so he's like woke Pope. I like to call him WP, but he is still like, you know, saying a lot of mumbo jumbo that I don't know about, and wearing a little hat. But yeah, Vatican helped Nazi war criminals escape. Come on, Vat. What are we doing? And then here's the interesting one. Apparently, there's something called Vatileaks, which was like a conspiracy that happened recently, like in the 2010s. Supposedly, this dude published a book of all these like secret documents that Pope Benedict wrote. And Pope Benedict was the Pope before Pope Francis. So this is pretty recent. I literally remember being in elementary school and then being like, we have a new Pope. This is a huge deal. And I being like, how does this affect the fact that it's pizza cookie day at the cafeteria? I don't give a fuck about the Pope. And so this guy publishes his book of all these secret documents of Pope Benedict, supposedly that were supplied by Pope Benedict's personal butler. Why does the Pope have a butler? Isn't he supposed to like live in like fucking 40 days in the desert or some shit? But supposedly all these secret documents are leaked, and the documents expose a lot of corruption in the church, specifically priests paying each other. Is this right? Wait. Yes. Priests and bishops that had broken their celibacy. Whoa. A stroke. Their celibacy vows and had gay sex with each other. Isn't that funny how you become the very thing you're trying to destroy? Apparently, they were paying each other for gay sex acts. And this is all coming at the time of the Catholic Church sexual misconduct scandals where all the priests are being exposed for like molesting little boys. So, no, I'm sorry. That came out wrong. Erase. I think I have this theory that a lot of like people who are currently priests or nuns or anything like that, if they were born in a different generation, would be out members of the LGBTQ community. But they were forced to kind of go into religious life because they knew that was a path they could take with their life that would be more accepted. Does that make sense? Like if you okay, the nuns that taught me in Catholic school, swear to God, all of them are lesbians. Swear to God. Because like one of the nuns I had, we'll call her Sister Slay. Sister Slay came from like an Irish Catholic family of 12. Statistically, one of them is going to be gay. She's 100% a lesbian. And it's like, okay, if I come out as a lesbian and live my life to the fullest as I want to, my entire family is going to disown me. Or I could just like say I'm a nun and like low key be doing shit on the side. And like the whole family still talks to me and thinks I'm like honorable. Do you know what I'm saying? So sad. That doesn't need to happen anymore. You can just be gay. But they didn't know that. And so I think a lot of these like, not so much as molesting children, that is terrible, but like sex between priests, like no shit. Of course. Like it makes so much sense to me, right? So I don't know if that maybe there's something problematic in there that I said, but to me that makes sense. So this book gets published of all these documents proving all this corruption. And Pope Benedict, my boy, resigns from the papacy conveniently, stating like declining health. And he's the first pope to willingly resign in like thousands of years. Coincidence? Probably not. But thank God, because now we got Pope Frankie and he's cool. I wish I saw him. When I was there, they were like, he's really sick and he's going to die. And he hasn't yet. That was like 2 years ago. So there might be like a Weekend at Bernie's situation going on at the Vatican where like the Pope is being propped up by strings. We'll never know. This is really interesting too. I learned about this. In 897, this Pope was being tried for like treason or something. And he had died while awaiting trial. And then his trial took place like 7 months later. And they exhumed his body, dressed him up in his robes and put him at like a bench and had a trial for him and he had a lawyer, a dead body. And then he got and was like denounced. And then instead of reburying him like in St. Peter's Basilica, they threw him in the river. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the Eucharist crumbles. There's also a lot of conspiracies that the Vatican has like these secret archives that have a lot of damning evidence about the church, which Da Vinci Code, Jesus has descendants. That would be so bad for the Vatican if that got out, because it would paint Jesus as very human and it would put a lot of power in the hands of women, and they don't like that. There's also theories that there is evidence in the secret archives that Jesus never existed. Hello? That's crazy. There's apparently in 1917 these 3 children from Portugal received prophecies that are called the 3 secrets of Fatima, and apparently they were witnessed by many people, but all evidence was erased because they prophesized nuclear war, and the Vatican said nope, we don't want all of that. And then finally, one of the conspiracy theories that I read about is that a lot of people think the Vatican has a secret time machine. Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun if it was just like that episode of SpongeBob where everything's chrome, but it was like Pope Francis? Why is everything chrome? That sounded Russian. I go crazy when I find like history like that to be so interesting. So whoever wrote Da Vinci Code, I forget his name, and I don't feel like looking it up, but you're really smart. You're a smart guy. Interesting concepts. But then there I was, fucking 14 years old in a plaid skirt and knee-high socks, singing "On You Stay." No clue what any of it meant. Fucking taking the uterus. Whoa, what a Freudian slip. What does that mean? What does that symbolize? That I meant to say Eucharist, but I said uterus. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book right now. I got to go. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. I should stop talking.